"Don't call the police," I whispered when the man in the black coat knelt beside me in the rain. "The man who did this works for you." For the first time, Adrian Moretti stopped moving. I didn't know his name yet, but I knew what he was. Everyone in Chicago did. 3 black SUVs stood 20 feet behind him, engines humming beneath the pounding rain, while men in dark suits waited without speaking. None of them approached until he gave a slight nod. That told me everything. My hands shook as I tried to push myself upright. "Stay down," he said. 2 words. Quiet. Controlled. Somehow more commanding than a shout. "I'm fine." It was a ridiculous lie. My waitress uniform was soaked through, my left wrist ached, and one shoe was missing somewhere along the service road behind me. Less than an hour earlier, Ryan Cole had been telling me I'd misunderstood everything. Then he'd realized how much I had heard. Pier 9. Sunday night. Moretti dies first. Those 4 words had changed his face. Ryan hadn't looked angry anymore. He'd looked terrified. Now Adrian's eyes moved over me with unnerving precision, not lingering on my injuries, but searching for something. "Who?" he asked. I swallowed. "Ryan Cole." Nothing changed in his expression, but one of the men behind him glanced toward another. Adrian noticed. Of course he noticed. "You know him?" I asked. "No." He removed his coat and placed it around my shoulders without touching me. "But someone here does." The rain struck the pavement between us. For one strange second, nobody spoke. Then Adrian's gaze dropped to my clenched right hand. "Open it." "Why?" "Because you've been holding something since we found you." I hadn't realized I was. My fingers slowly unfolded. A silver coin rested against my palm, stamped with a small black crest. I had grabbed it from Ryan's car without thinking when he dragged my purse from the passenger seat. I thought it was just some expensive poker chip. Adrian didn't. The silence around us changed instantly. One of his men took half a step forward. Adrian raised one finger. The man stopped. "Where did you get that?" Adrian asked. "Ryan's car." "Are you certain?" "Yes." His jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. He took the token and turned it beneath the glow of the SUV headlights. On its edge was a tiny mark I hadn't noticed, 3 narrow lines beneath the Moretti crest. Adrian looked toward the tall man standing nearest the second vehicle. "Daniel." "Boss." "Cancel Pier 9. My stomach dropped. I stared at him. "How do you know about Pier 9? Adrian's eyes returned to mine. He didn't answer. Instead, he handed the token to Daniel. "Seal the warehouses. Freeze tonight's shipments. Call every capo personally. Nobody moves anything without my authorization." Daniel disappeared toward the SUV, already dialing. I finally understood what I had stumbled into. This wasn't a powerful man surrounded by security. This was a mafia boss giving orders to an empire. Adrian looked down at me again. His voice became quieter. "Can you stand?" I tried. My knees failed immediately. He caught my elbow before I hit the pavement, then released me the second I was steady. Controlled strength. No unnecessary touch. "Why are you helping me?" I asked. Adrian glanced at the silver token in Daniel's hand. "Because someone inside my organization gave that to Ryan Cole." Headlights suddenly appeared at the far end of the road. Adrian's men turned toward them. He didn't. He kept watching me. "And whoever left you here," he said, "wanted me to find you." I woke to the sound of a lock clicking, and for one terrifying second, I thought Ryan had found me again. I sat up too fast. My wrist protested. The room was unfamiliar, quiet, expensive without trying to look expensive. Gray walls, heavy curtains, a glass of water beside the bed. My clothes were still damp, but someone had left a clean sweatshirt and sweatpants folded on a chair. I had barely put my feet on the floor when the door opened. Adrian Moretti walked in alone. Same black hair, same dark brown eyes, different suit. He placed my phone on the table between us. "You are awake." "Where am I?" "A property I control." That does not answer my question. Something almost changed in his expression. Almost. Near downtown. I stood carefully. "I want to leave." "Then leave." That stopped me. "What?" Adrian stepped away from the doorway, leaving it completely open. "Nobody here will stop you, Emily." Hearing my name from him made my stomach tighten. "How do you know my name?" "Your identification was in your purse." He reached inside his jacket and placed a photograph beside my phone. My breath caught. Ryan stood outside a restaurant beside an older man in a charcoal overcoat. I had never seen the man before. "Who is that?" "Vincent Moretti. My uncle. My consigliere." I looked from the photograph to Adrian. "Why is Ryan with him?" That is what I intend to discover. His voice never rose, but something colder entered the room. Tell me exactly what you heard tonight. I hesitated. Adrian noticed, yet he did not move closer. So I told him. I had gone to Ryan's warehouse office because I thought he was hiding another relationship. I heard voices behind the loading bay instead. Men discussing Sunday. Pier 9. Then the sentence I had been trying not to remember. Moretti dies first. Adrian became completely still. Who knew you were there? Ryan. Maybe the other men. How many? 3, I think. Names. I did not hear any. He picked up his phone. Daniel. Move Sunday's meeting. Tell no one where. A pause. And bring me Ryan Cole's employment records for the last 3 years. He ended the call. You already knew about Pier 9, I said. 6 people knew. And Ryan makes 7. No. Adrian looked directly at me. Ryan makes proof. My fear shifted into something colder. Ryan had spent 2 years telling me he managed freight schedules. 2 years of late calls, unexplained trips, and locked screens. I had mistaken secrets for distance. Adrian slid my phone toward me. There is something else. The screen showed 17 missed calls from Ryan. Beneath them was one message. Do not trust Moretti. He was supposed to find you. My mouth went dry. What does that mean? Adrian read it without reacting. Then his own phone rang. He answered immediately. Daniel's voice was loud enough for me to hear 3 words. Vincent is gone. Adrian slowly looked at the photograph again. How long? He asked. Another pause. His eyes hardened. Lock every Moretti property in the city. Nobody leaves without my approval. He ended the call and looked at me. Emily, my uncle disappeared 12 minutes after I found you. If Vincent disappeared because of me, then I am leaving before anyone else does. I reached for my phone, but Adrian placed one hand beside it, not touching me, only stopping the moment long enough to make me look at him. You can leave, he said, but understand what happens next. Is that a threat? No. It is logistics. His calmness unsettled me more than anger would have. Adrian stepped away and nodded toward the open door. Ryan knows your apartment, your workplace, your schedule. If he is connected to Vincent, going home does not make you free. It makes you predictable. I hated that he was right. I hated even more that he did not use being right to control me. 20 minutes later, I was in the back seat of a black SUV heading toward my apartment while Adrian remained behind. He had a mafia organization to run, and apparently my fear did not stop Chicago from moving. Before I left, I heard him give Daniel 3 different locations for Sunday's meeting. 3 locations. 3 different names attached to them. I understood immediately. Adrian was not searching for the leak. He was feeding it. By sunrise, I was home. No guard stood outside. No black SUV waited beneath my window. Adrian had kept his word. For 6 hours, nothing happened. Then my landlord knocked. Someone finally approved the security repair, he said, pointing toward the broken camera above the entrance. Whole block is getting checked. I stared at him. Who paid for that? He shrugged. Property management. My building barely had property management. I called Adrian. He answered on the second ring. You said nobody would follow me. Nobody is. Then why is my building suddenly getting new cameras? Silence. Those cameras cover 4 businesses Moretti protects, he said. They needed replacing. Today seemed efficient. I almost laughed, which annoyed me more. You are impossible. I have been called worse. Then his voice changed. Emily, lock your door. My amusement vanished. Why? Daniel's location leaked. Across town, Adrian's trap had worked. Of the 3 false meeting sites, only one had drawn attention from the rival DeLuca family. Daniel had been the only person given that address. So Daniel betrayed you? I asked. Evidence is not truth. That answer stayed with me. Adrian could have punished Daniel immediately. Instead, he watched. He checked phone records, vehicle logs, financial transfers. He ordered his captains to continue business as usual while quietly freezing access to one missing shipment. That was when he told me what had actually vanished. Not cash, not merchandise. A coded ledger containing names, payments, routes, and agreements powerful people would do almost anything to possess. Ryan had access to freight, Adrian said. Vincent had access to the ledger. My stomach tightened, and I walked into the middle. Maybe. A knock sounded at my apartment door. 3 slow taps. I froze. Adrian heard them through the phone. Do not open it. Another 3 taps. Then a voice I knew better than my own. Emily, please. It is Ryan. I backed away. He is here. Adrian's voice remained perfectly controlled. Stay on the phone. Ryan spoke through the door. Emily, Adrian is lying to you. Ask him why his convoy was sent to that road before I ever left you there. My breath stopped. Adrian said nothing. Adrian, I whispered. Is that true? A long second passed. Then he answered. Yes. Then tell me why. I whispered, staring at the locked door while Ryan waited on the other side. Adrian answered without hesitation. Someone called one of my warehouses 11 minutes before we found you. No name. No explanation. Just a location and the words, there is a problem on the service road. My grip tightened around the phone. You never told me that. Because I did not know whether the caller was helping you or using you. Ryan knocked again. Emily, he knew you would be there. Ryan, I called through the door. Why did you leave me on that road? Silence. Then his voice dropped. Because Vincent told me to. My stomach turned cold. Why? Open the door. No, Emily, please. Answer me. Another pause. Vincent needed Moretti to find you. Adrian heard every word. His voice remained level. Ask Ryan what Vincent wanted me to see. I repeated the question. Ryan exhaled through the door. The token. Everything suddenly connected. The silver coin had not accidentally ended up in Ryan's car. Someone wanted it in my hand. Someone wanted Adrian looking inside his own organization. You used me, I said. I did not know what Vincent planned until tonight. You still left me there. Ryan had no answer for that. Then he said something worse. You think this started tonight? Vincent has been asking questions about you for months. My heart seemed to miss a beat. Adrian spoke immediately. Emily, move away from the door. This time I listened. A few minutes later, 2 dark vehicles stopped outside. Adrian did not come upstairs. Daniel did. Through the window, I watched him cross the sidewalk alone, black coat buttoned against the morning wind. Ryan was already gone. Daniel entered after I unlocked the door, placed a small envelope on my kitchen table, and said, "The boss wants you to see this." Inside was a photograph of Daniel meeting a man outside a federal building. I looked at him. Adrian thinks you betrayed him. He should. Daniel sounded almost amused. That was the point. My confusion must have shown. He explained that for 6 months he had been quietly tracing missing Moretti money. Every trail led toward Vincent, but Daniel needed evidence before accusing the mafia boss's own uncle. The federal investigator was not handling Adrian. He was tracking financial companies Vincent secretly controlled. Then why did the false meeting location leak through you? I asked. Daniel placed his phone on the table. Because Vincent cloned one of my encrypted accounts 3 weeks ago. We let him keep using it. My eyes widened. Adrian had not discovered a traitor. He had discovered how the traitor was listening. Where is Adrian? I asked, taking Vincent's empire apart without letting Vincent know he has started. Across Chicago, Adrian was freezing shell companies, replacing warehouse supervisors, moving trusted captains, and quietly cutting Vincent away from the Moretti organization one connection at a time. No public accusations. No panic. Just doors closing. Daniel opened a second envelope. We found this while tracing Vincent's files. I expected another photograph of Ryan. Instead, I saw myself leaving the restaurant where I worked. Another showed me buying groceries. Another showed me entering my apartment building. Dates were printed beneath each image. My hands went numb. These are from months ago. 3 months before last night, Daniel said. Beneath the photographs was a background report with my full name, address, work schedule, and family history. One line had been circled in red. Michael Carter. My father. Dead 14 years. I looked at Daniel. Why would Vincent care about my father? Daniel did not answer. Adrian did. His voice came from behind me. I turned. He stood in the doorway, rain darkening the shoulders of his black coat, his expression unreadable. In his hand was an old photograph. He placed it beside Vincent's file. My father stood in the picture, younger than I remembered him. Beside him was another man. Adrian looked at me. That is my father. My father was an accountant, I said, but Adrian's silence told me that sentence had belonged to a life that no longer existed. I picked up the photograph. My father stood beside Anthony Moretti outside a brick building, both men younger, both looking directly at the camera. He worked for my family, Adrian said. Financial records. Private accounts. Things only a few people were trusted to see. I shook my head. He hated organized crime. Maybe that is why he tried to expose someone inside it. Daniel placed another file on the table. 14 years earlier, Michael Carter had discovered money disappearing through companies connected to Moretti shipping routes. He began copying records. Then he died before identifying who controlled the accounts. I remembered the official explanation. A highway accident. A rainy November morning. I had been 12. You are telling me my father knew your father? I am telling you they were investigating the same betrayal. Adrian's phone rang. He listened for 10 seconds. Close the Cicero warehouse. Move the crews to Archer. Nobody touches Vincent's accounts until I authorize it. He ended the call as calmly as if he had ordered coffee. Somewhere beyond my apartment, his organization was changing shape by the minute. Vincent thinks my father left something with me, I said. Yes, but he did not. Adrian's eyes dropped to my necklace. I instinctively touched the small brass key hanging beneath my shirt collar. I had worn it since childhood. His expression changed. Where did you get that? My father gave it to me. Adrian held out his hand, but waited. I removed the necklace myself and placed it in his palm. He examined the tiny number engraved along the stem. This is not a house key. Daniel leaned closer. Adrian looked at him. Moretti Trust Bank. Old private boxes. My pulse quickened. That bank still exists. The building does. 40 minutes later, we entered a private financial office downtown through a side entrance. Adrian did not announce himself. He did not need to. The manager saw him and immediately cleared the hallway. That was the strange thing about Adrian's power. It rarely made noise. Doors simply opened. The key matched box 417. My hands trembled as the manager left us alone. Adrian stood several feet behind me. You open it. I slid the key into the lock. It turned. For 14 years, I had carried this around my neck without knowing what it opened. I pulled the metal box toward me. Empty. My chest sank. There is nothing. Look again, Adrian said. A folded piece of paper lay beneath the removable lining. I unfolded it. 5 words had been typed across the center. You finally brought her to me. I stared at Adrian. This was waiting for us. He took the note by its edges. His dark eyes moved once across the words. Then his phone vibrated. Daniel checked his own phone at the same moment. Boss, he said quietly. 3 Moretti warehouses just went offline. Adrian did not react. DeLuca? Their vehicles were seen near 2 locations. Adrian folded the note and slipped it into his coat. Then Vincent has stopped hiding. He began issuing orders before we reached the hallway. Freeze the port accounts. Move every loyal captain off known routes. Shut down access to the Southside warehouses. No one was to act without direct authorization. I followed him toward the elevator, suddenly understanding that the empty box had not been a failure. It had been a signal. Vincent had wanted us here, while something larger began elsewhere. The elevator doors opened. Adrian stopped before stepping inside. He looked back at me, then at the little brass key still in my hand. Emily, think carefully. Did your father ever teach you anything that made no sense? I almost said no. Then a memory surfaced. Sunday mornings. Pancakes. My father tapping numbers against the kitchen table while I repeated them like a game. 7, 19, 4, 11, 23. My breath caught. Adrian saw it immediately. What? I whispered the numbers. Daniel went completely still. Adrian's eyes sharpened. That is not a game, he said. That is a cipher. My father hid the key in my memory because he knew no one could steal it from me. The realization followed me into the elevator, where Adrian was already issuing orders that seemed to move half of Chicago without raising his voice. Daniel, shut down every Moretti route connected to DeLuca. Move our legitimate freight through Cicero and keep Pier 9 empty. I want Vincent believing we are protecting it. Daniel nodded. And the captains? Give them a choice. Stay neutral tonight or lose access to every port we control tomorrow. The elevator doors opened. Adrian walked out without waiting for an answer. That was when I understood the difference between protection and power. Adrian had found me in the rain, but he was not spending his night standing beside me. He was fighting for an empire. By the time we reached one of his downtown offices, 3 warehouse managers had been replaced, 2 accounts had been frozen, and the DeLuca family had lost access to a shipping company they had quietly depended on for years. I sat at a conference table while Daniel brought in a copy of the coded ledger recovered from a backup server. Rows of meaningless numbers covered the pages. Adrian stood across from me. Say the sequence again. 7, 19, 4, 11, 23. We tested it against the first page. Nothing. The second produced fragments. On the third, words appeared. Dates. Company names. Payments. My heart began racing. It works. Adrian did not celebrate. Keep going. An hour later, I finally understood why Vincent had watched me for months. My father had not left me evidence. He had left me the only method capable of reading it. You need to leave Chicago, Adrian said. I looked up. No, Vincent knows what you are now. Then sending me away tells him exactly how important I am. Emily, you told me not to trust you. You told me to watch what you do. I pushed the ledger toward him. So watch what I do. I am staying. Daniel suddenly became very interested in his phone. Adrian stared at me for several seconds. This was a man who could close warehouses with a sentence and move captains across the city with a call. I expected an order. Instead, he pulled out the chair opposite mine and sat down. Then you stay here, under your own terms. Something inside me loosened. Not because he had protected me, because he had listened. The moment lasted exactly 30 seconds. Daniel's phone rang. His expression changed. Boss, DeLuca just moved crews toward the river. Vincent is offering our captains double their territory if they switch sides before midnight. Adrian stood. How many accepted? None yet. Good. Let them think I am worried about territory. What are you worried about? I asked. Adrian looked at the ledger. Why Vincent started this war tonight? I returned to the numbers. Another line resolved beneath my pencil. A transfer from 20 years earlier. Then another. Both carried the same authorization code. A name appeared beside it. Anthony Moretti. Adrian's father. I stopped breathing. Adrian noticed. What did you find? I turned the page toward him. His eyes settled on the name. For the first time since I met him, his composure cracked. Only slightly. But I saw it. That cannot be right, Daniel said. Adrian said nothing. The ledger showed millions of dollars moving from Moretti accounts directly toward companies later controlled by Vincent. I looked at Adrian. What if Vincent did not betray your father? He raised his eyes to mine. I hated the question before I asked it. What if your father built this with him? Numbers do not confess, I said, staring at Anthony Moretti's name. People make them confess. Adrian's eyes lifted to mine. For several seconds, nobody moved. Then he pulled the ledger closer. Explain. I pointed to the transfers. We assumed money moving toward Vincent meant your father was paying him. What if we are reading the direction correctly, but the purpose wrong? Daniel leaned over the table. I followed the cipher into the next column, where tiny reference numbers connected each transfer to another account. We decoded 1, then 3, then 7. The pattern changed everything. Anthony had been moving controlled amounts through Vincent's companies, while Michael Carter documented where the money went next. They were tracing him, I whispered. Adrian went still. My father and yours, I continued. They were building a map. Daniel pulled up archived company records. The final destinations were shell businesses Vincent later controlled. Adrian looked at his father's name again, but the coldness in his face had changed. This time it looked like grief. He knew, Adrian said quietly. Anthony knew Vincent was stealing from the family. Daniel nodded. And Michael was proving it. Another coded entry appeared 6 months before my father died. Then the record stopped. 3 years later, Anthony Moretti died after a failed peace meeting. I did not need Adrian to explain what that meant. Vincent had not built his betrayal in a single night. He had spent nearly 2 decades standing beside the Moretti family while quietly hollowing it out. Adrian's phone rang. Boss, 2 captains are asking permission to meet DeLuca representatives. Adrian's expression hardened. Give it. Daniel frowned. You want the meeting? I want DeLuca believing they can recruit my people. He turned toward Daniel. Feed each captain a different port schedule. Whichever schedule Vincent moves on tells us which one he owns. There it was again. No shouting. No panic. Adrian turned betrayal into bait before the call even ended. I returned to the ledger and decoded the final cluster of accounts. One name appeared repeatedly beside Vincent's transfers. DeLuca Maritime Holdings. Adrian. He came around the table. Vincent was not working alone. Daniel read the screen. DeLuca. Adrian nodded once, as if confirming something he had already suspected. They financed him. For how long? I asked. Long enough to help destroy 2 fathers. The words landed harder than anger. For one brief moment, I saw the sun beneath the Mafia boss. Then it disappeared. Adrian straightened. Daniel, call every loyal captain. DeLuca wants Chicago divided by midnight. We make sure they spend the night wondering which of their own people still belong to them. Daniel left immediately. Adrian remained beside me. You were right earlier, he said. About what? Staying. I looked at him. That sounded painful. Do not get used to it. Despite everything, I smiled. So did he, barely. Then his phone vibrated again. Daniel had sent a photograph from a traffic camera near the office. A familiar sedan sat across the street. Ryan's car. Adrian looked toward the window. Stay here. No, Emily. You said under my own terms. His jaw tightened, but he nodded. We moved toward the private elevator. The doors opened. Empty. Adrian stepped inside first. I followed. My phone suddenly lit up with a message from Ryan. I know what Vincent wants. Do not let Adrian take you downstairs. Before I could show him, the elevator stopped between floors. The lights flickered once. Adrian reached for his phone. No signal. Then Daniel's voice came through Adrian's radio, broken by static. Boss, get Emily out. The DeLuca move was a diversion. Adrian looked at me. A diversion for what? Daniel answered, and every trace of warmth disappeared from Adrian's face. For her. They never wanted the ledger, Adrian said as the elevator lights went dark. They wanted the only person who could read it. A mechanical click sounded above us. Adrian immediately pressed the emergency control, but nothing happened. His voice stayed calm. Emily, give me your phone. I handed it over. He read Ryan's message, then looked at the ceiling. He knew. Maybe he is helping. Maybe he is buying time. The elevator suddenly moved downward. Adrian had not touched anything. When the doors opened, we were in the underground garage. Two unfamiliar men stood near a maintenance van. Adrian stepped in front of me without hesitation, but he did not charge toward them. He looked once at the security camera above the exit. Vincent controls the building system, he said quietly, which means he expects me to react. Instead, Adrian pulled me back into the elevator and hit the fire release. A side service door opened into a narrow stairwell. Go up. What about you? I am ending his diversion. His phone finally found a signal. 3 calls followed in less than a minute. Adrian ordered every Moretti captain to abandon the false port schedules. He froze DeLuca access to 2 freight terminals, suspended payments through Vincent's shell companies, and instructed Daniel to contact the captains Vincent had tried to buy. Offer them nothing, Adrian said. Show them the ledger. Let Vincent's own records make the decision. That was Adrian Moretti at his most dangerous. He did not chase the enemy. He removed the ground beneath them. We reached the 2nd floor when a fire alarm sounded. People flooded into the stairwell. Someone grabbed my arm in the confusion. I pulled away, but another figure blocked my path. I heard Adrian call my name. Then a door closed between us. Everything after that happened too quickly. A service hallway. A waiting car. A voice telling me cooperation was the safest choice. When the car stopped, Vincent Moretti was waiting inside an empty office near the river. He looked nothing like a desperate traitor. Gray suit. Silver hair. Calm smile. Your father made you very valuable, Emily. A laptop sat on the desk beside the coded ledger. Decode it. I stared at him. And if I refuse? Then Adrian keeps destroying everything I built while never knowing whether you are safe. I sat down. Not because I surrendered. Because I remembered something my father used to say during our number games. When someone rushes you, make them trust the wrong answer. So I decoded slowly. Incorrectly. Every 5th number shifted 1 position. Vincent watched the screen, unaware that I was corrupting the account sequence. My phone had been taken, but the brass key still hung beneath my collar. I rubbed it between my fingers and counted time. Across Chicago, Adrian was doing the same thing with people instead of numbers. Daniel later told me Vincent lost 2 captains in 20 minutes. DeLuca lost access to the river terminals. 3 companies refused their shipments. Then Ryan walked into the office. My stomach dropped. You, I whispered. Vincent smiled. He finally remembered who pays him. Ryan would not look at me. He crossed behind my chair and placed a folder beside the laptop. His hand brushed the table once. A tiny piece of paper slid beneath my palm. I waited until Vincent turned away. 3 words were written on it. East stairwell. Now. Ryan looked at me. I am sorry. This time, I believed he meant it. I stood, knocked the ledger pages to the floor, and ran. An alarm sounded behind me. I reached the east stairwell and pushed through the door. Adrian stood on the landing below, black suit immaculate, dark eyes colder than I had ever seen them. Daniel was beside him. Adrian looked past me toward the doorway where Vincent appeared. Vincent stopped. She made you weak, he said. Adrian did not move. No, he replied. She showed me where the weakness was. Daniel's phone buzzed. He looked at the screen, then at Vincent. Your captains are gone. DeLuca pulled out. Your accounts are frozen. Vincent's smile disappeared. Adrian had not come to rescue me. He had arrived after dismantling Vincent's entire position. Then my eyes dropped to the ledger page still clutched in my hand. One account remained active. I read the name attached to it and felt the floor disappear beneath me. Ryan Cole. Ryan Cole, I whispered, staring at the name on the ledger. Adrian took the page from my hand and read the account number twice. Behind me, Ryan had reached the stairwell door. He stopped when he saw my face. Emily, it is not what you think. I think I have heard that before. Vincent gave a quiet laugh, but Adrian never looked at him. Daniel, trace the account. Daniel was already working from his phone. Ryan stepped closer, keeping his hands visible. Vincent opened it using my identity. I moved freight for him. I signed documents I knew were wrong. I told myself I did not need to know more. His voice tightened. But that account was never mine. I wanted to hate him enough for the answer to be simple. It was not. Ryan had been manipulated. He had also made choices. He had lied to me. He had frightened me. Then he had helped me escape. None of those truths erased the others. Daniel looked up. He is telling the truth. The account predates Ryan's employment by 4 years. Vincent transferred ownership records into Ryan's name 18 months ago. Vincent's expression finally changed. Adrian turned toward his uncle. You plan to leave him holding everything. Someone always holds the blame. Not tonight. Adrian had already won before entering the building. Copies of the ledger were with his loyal captains. Financial records linking Vincent to DeLuca had been secured. Ryan agreed to cooperate and turn over every shipping record he had kept. Vincent's remaining allies abandoned him before midnight. Adrian never raised his voice. He simply closed every door Vincent had spent 20 years opening. By sunrise, the war that had started inside the Moretti family was finished. Ryan found me before he left. I am sorry. I looked at him for a long time. Being sorry does not make what happened disappear. He nodded. I know. Then tell the truth. All of it. I will. That was all I could give him. Not forgiveness. Not yet. Maybe never. 3 months passed. Vincent's network collapsed under the evidence my father had hidden. DeLuca withdrew from Chicago after losing the alliances that had made their expansion possible. Adrian remained exactly what he had always been. The mafia boss who controlled more of the city than anyone openly admitted. He did not walk away from that world for me. I never asked him to. But things changed inside it. Men who preyed on civilians disappeared from Moretti payrolls. Captains who confused cruelty with loyalty lost their positions. Adrian called it discipline. Daniel called it a revolution nobody was allowed to name. I called it proof that power could learn boundaries. Then, one rainy Friday night, I finished my shift and stepped outside the restaurant. A black SUV waited across the street. Adrian sat inside. He did not send Daniel for me. He did not call. He did not even lower the window. He waited. The choice was mine. I crossed the street and opened the passenger door. Adrian looked at me, black hair slightly out of place, dark brown eyes giving away nothing. You sure? He asked. I sat beside him and closed the door. Rain whispered against the roof. The first night I met you, I thought you were the most dangerous man in Chicago. You were probably right. I still am. That earned the smallest smile. I looked down at his hand resting between us. He did not reach for mine. So I reached first. You are still dangerous, Adrian. His fingers closed gently around mine. Just not to me. Outside, Chicago moved beneath silver rain, full of secrets, debts, and men who still lowered their voices when Adrian Moretti entered a room. He still ruled that world. He was still feared, still powerful, still mafia. But as he looked at me that night, I finally understood what had changed. He had spent his entire life learning how to hold power. I had taught him when not to use it. And for the first time in Adrian Moretti's life, power was no longer the thing he was most afraid to lose.